Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man ihtada bihudahu ila yawmiddin. Amma ba'd. Dear brothers and sisters, this is lesson number 10 of our commentary on Qwa'id Attasawuf by Al-Imam Zarruq rahimahullah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Qwa'id Attasawuf is principles of Sufis, which means that today we are going to continue what we spoke about last week. Okay? So therefore, we reach to principle number 43. Principle number 43. And we said that this principle number 43 is part of this new part of the book Okay, principle number last time we spoke about imitating, which is taqleed and stuff like that, and today we're going to speak about it says here the rendering of a verdict in a particular case does not mean that its rationale is applicable generally. And the opposite holds true also. Purification is bending on everyone, contrary to the hadith that runs a minority of the community. That was because it was construed in the light of its general attributes, quite apart from sum total of its particular members, and thus purification existed on it. Okay, now he says here that okay, now from this part of the book, which is the fourth part of the book, it starts from here when he speaks about a taqleed and stuff like that. So, part number 4, it speaks about taqleed, which is imitating, and it speaks about imitating, following, and all things that have to do with this, which means it speaks about what many people speak about nowadays. Now, last time I started this and I spoke about taqleed and stuff like that. Now today, he says that look here, most of what he's going to speak about here in this chapter, or in this part, it has to do with usul al-fiqh. Now, when I speak about usul al-fiqh, which means, last time, remember, we studied a whole book about introduction to usul al-fiqh. To the brothers or sisters didn't participate with us, we spoke about that, which means we spoke about many things that have to do with origins of jurisprudence, or the derivatives of Islam. Now look here, he says when you give a ruling to a specific thing, that doesn't mean that it's a general case. But when you give a ruling to a general case, it means that every specific case has the same ruling. But that doesn't work the same. So when he says, and vice versa, which means that when you give something as general, it still has exceptions. And when you speak about a specific person or a specific case, that doesn't mean all cases are like that. You see? So therefore, when we speak about that, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that the best generation is the first one, and then the second one, and then the third one. The first generation, and the second generation, and the third generation. Does that mean every single person, is considered as a good guy? No, doesn't mean that at all. When you speak about that the best generation is the generation of the Sahaba and the Tabi'een and the Atba' Tabi'een, that doesn't mean every Tabi'i is a good guy, or everybody who was in the era of Imam Malik, for example, is a good guy as well. No, it doesn't mean that at all. But it means that in general, those people in that era are good guys. You see? So this is very important. This is very important. Okay? But it means as well that that generation is better than any generation that comes after that. So therefore, he says that when the Prophet ﷺ praises the first generation, or the second one and the third one, it means most people in that generation were good guys. And this is different from the hadith that says, well, there are a part of the ummah that are good guys. When it says, لا تزال طائفة من أمتي ظاهرين على الحق, that it's going to be always part or a group of the ummah that are on the right path. So that doesn't mean all the ummah. It speaks about a part of the ummah. And this part of the ummah has several attributes, which those attributes made them a good part amongst the whole nation. Okay? And in this case, that means those guys are good guys. All those guys, because they are part of the ummah. And they are a group of people that have specific attributes that made them best guys in that era. And therefore, that means when the Prophet ﷺ says that there is going to be a specific group in the ummah that are on the right path, that means all those people, individuals in that group, have high rank of attributes. Okay? Fine. Principle number 44. The teachings of the leaders of every discipline that have been codified are in themselves proof of their authenticity. This is due to the fact that the teaching is being handed down with its known point of origin, its correct meaning, and its clear form. And that is that it circulates among its followers, and that its problems are well known among its leaders, each of whom is joined to his predecessor. So it is both correct and necessary to follow these teachings even though their individual expositors have passed away. The teachings that have not been codified are not of the same nature. It is not correct to follow them because their expositors have passed away, and because there is an element of probability in all of them. The above might be treated more specifically or generally. For example, the schools of Al-Layth and two Sufyans in general have died out, as have the rest of the schools of jurisprudence, except the Maliki school in North Africa, the Shafi'i in Persia and Iraq, and the Hanafi among the Turks. As for the Hanbali school, it's to be found alongside the others. Therefore, all that we are able to know as being of sound transmission, but not that which is merely possibly so, is bending on us. This is why Sahnun delivered a legal opinion to the effect that no legal opinion was to be issued in North Africa outside the Maliki school. Ibn al-Khatib agreed with him. According to the scholars in Egypt, the ordinary man has no school, which is the layman, of jurisprudence because of the multiplicity of teaching regarding his case in that country, and this to be the point where they have written innumerable dedications and juridical opinions of the matter, but God knows best. Yeah, so actually today, most what we're going to speak about doesn't have to do directly with Sufism, but the Sufi has to know these things, and this is actually part of the mentality of Ahmad Zarruq rahimahullah, because he's a faqih, and he knows and he is interested or concerned about Sufism and fiqh. Okay, so what does he say here? He says that anything that our scholars wrote, it's an evidence because they wrote it, and we know that's the origin of what they said, and it's written. So when it's written, that's something that they said, and we can go back then and understand it and know what they meant and all other things like that. And especially when the students and the people who come after the students transmit those meanings. They transmit the meanings. So when they transmit the meanings, they understand it, they study it, they know all other similar opinions that work with it. So therefore it becomes a famous opinion in that school. Okay? And therefore it's fine to follow that school, because we know where it came from, we know where it branches came from, and stuff like that. Now, he's actually speaking about the other schools that we don't have anything written about them. Now, we have lots of imams and mujtahidun in the first 3 generations, and many of them used to have followers and stuff like that, but they didn't write their opinions. And we don't have any of their works anymore. And therefore, we have schools that collapsed, finished. We don't have it anymore. Like the school of Al-Layth ibn Sa'd, rahimahullah, who was in Egypt. And who Imam Shafi'i used to say, لولا مالك والليث لضللت. If I didn't meet Malik and Layth, I would go astray. So he considers Layth, and he said something more than that. He said, Al-Layth كان أفقه من مالك إلا أن أصحابه ضيعوه. Layth was more knowledgeable than Malik. So therefore, Layth, rahimahullah, had a school, and Imam Shafi'i said that he was more knowledgeable than Imam Malik, but his students made him get lost. They didn't collect his work. They didn't take care of him. They just participated in the lectures, and then they went away. So nobody collected his knowledge. Nobody collected his work. It got lost. That's it. And the same thing happened with Sufyan al-Thawri and Sufyan ibn Uyayna. Sufyan ibn Uyayna was a great imam. He was originally from Kufa, and then he went to Mecca and he remained there. And he was in the era of Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah. So he is in the same age of Imam Shafi'i or something like that. And he said, more than Imam Shafi'i. He's higher than Imam Shafi'i actually. He's higher than him. He's in the same stage of Imam Malik. And Sufyan Thawri is before Imam Malik actually. He passed away 160, nearly 160. And Imam Malik passed away 90, something like that. Yeah. So therefore, no, not 90, not 170, 72 or something like that. Now Imam Malik rahimahullah had a lots of students that collected his knowledge. They collected al-Mudawwana, they collected al-Muwatta, and we have Muwatta, lots of narrations of al-Muwatta. And he had students from North Africa to Andalusia and everywhere. Sufyan al-Thawri was in Kufa, the same era of Imam Abu Hanifa, and he was the same stage of Imam Abu Hanifa, and he is the student of many teachers of Imam Abu Hanifa, like Waqi' ibn al-Jarrah and others. But he was a big muhaddith, and he was Sunni Athari, although his opinions in fiqh are similar to opinions of Imam Abu Hanifa. His relationship with Imam Abu Hanifa wasn't good, and due to the different mentalities, I think why Imam Sufyan Thawri lost, or his students lost his knowledge, and he had a book called Al-Jami'. It's lost. We don't have it. We don't have anything about it. It's similar to Muwatta of Imam Malik, but it got lost. And his students didn't take care of his knowledge, so it got lost. I think they melted with the Hanafis. They melted with the Hanafis. So therefore, you can't speak about, according to Imam, it says, now look, all schools except the Malikis in North Africa, Morocco, the Maghrib, North Africa, and Shafi'i in, actually look what he says. He says, وَسَائِرُ الْمَذَاهِبِ سِوَى الْمَالِكِيِّ مِنَ الْمَغْرِبِ. And when we speak about Maghrib, it starts from Libya, especially Tripoli, to West Africa. All that is considered as Maghrib. وَالشَّافِعِ بِالْعَجَمِ. الشافعي بالعجم. What is the Ajam here? The Ajam are not Arabs, but sometimes they mean the Persians. And Shafi'i was in the ancient days. Shafi'i was well known in the land of Persia, actually. So Persians, most of them were Shafi'is and Hanafis. Shafi'is and Hanafis. And Hanafi Birrum. The translation actually is not exactly what he says here. But what's Rum? Rum here, it's small Asia. It's small Asia, which is Anadolu nowadays, Turkey. But he didn't say the Turks. No, he didn't use this word at all. Because that land was a Roman land, part of the Byzantine Empire. And the Turks came from Central Asia, and then they started coming groups by groups, tribes by tribes, until they became the main people of small Asia. Okay? So he says, and Hanafis in the Roman land, Muslim Romans, which is Turkey now. And so he says that North Africa, Bilad al-Maghrib, the Grand Maghrib, all of them are Malikis. No other school with them. And the non-Arabs, he says Al-Ajam are non-Arabs. No other school with them. Shafi, all of them Shafis. And the Hanafis are in Central or in small Asia. No other school with them. But Hanbali is always with another school, according to him, because it was few. You had few people in Baghdad, few people in Damascus and Syria, and few people here and there. So the Hanbalis were so rare, but they existed anyway. So therefore, all schools, when they have their official books that are trusted, and they have their schools, one takes from another, we respect that school and we believe that it's a proper school. So therefore, he says that this is why Suhnun ibn Sa'id, who was a great Imam of the Maliki school, he's student of the students of Imam Malik, and he went to Egypt and he took from Ibn al-Qasim, and he's the one who made the last copy of Mudawwan al-Imam Malik rahimahullah. He was a great Imam, and he was a Sunni, and he passed away nearly the same year, or so close to the year that Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal passed away, and he was examined like Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah was examined. So he says, what does Suhnun say? He says no one is allowed to give fatwa in the land of Maghrib, which is North Africa, except by the Maliki school. From Tripoli to Sudan, Western Sudan, no one is allowed to give any fatwa except from the Maliki school. He says, and similar to that, Ibn al-Katib, not Ibn al-Khatib. I read it wrong. It's Ibn al-Katib. Let me see, did he make the mistake or I made the mistake? Actually, he made the mistake. He wrote Ibn al-Khatib and he put Kaf, K-H-A-T with a dot under it, and I with a line over it, which is al-Khatib. It's not Ibn al-Khatib, it's Ibn al-Katib, according to what I read in the best copy of this book. Who is Ibn al-Katib? I don't know who does he mean by Ibn al-Katib. But here Ibn al-Katib is Abu al-Hassan, Abu Ali al-Hassan, al-Hussein ibn Ahmad. He was one of the great Malikis, and he was from Egypt. He was from the great shuyukh of Egypt. He's a Sufi. He was a Sufi, great Imam of Sufism. And the same thing, he was a jurisprudence, a knowledgeable jurist. He passed away 343. 343. So he is after Imam Suhnun, rahimahullah, because Suhnun passed 240, nearly 240. So therefore, this is Ibn al-Katib, not Ibn al-Khatib. So if you have your copy, just correct this. Okay? So therefore, he says in Egypt, وعند أهل مصر, and in Egypt, how did they translate this? According to the scholars of Egypt, yes, the same thing. So according to the scholars of Egypt, that the layman doesn't have any school. You can't come, you layman guy, what is your madhab? Even if he tells you, I'm Maliki, Hanafi, Hanbali, Shafi, etc., he's just saying that because he's not knowledgeable. He's not an expert. How can you ask him about his school and he doesn't know anything? He's ignorant. So therefore, what is his school? Well, anyone who gives him fatwa, that's it. It's because he's not from a school. And this is not a religion to follow. You ask somebody, are you Muslim? Yes, I'm Muslim. Even if he's layman, because he prays, he fasts in Ramadan, he does all these pillars of Islam. So he can say, I'm Muslim. If he's a Christian, yeah, he's a Christian. Even if he's layman, because he goes to the church on every Sunday, he believes in the Trinity and stuff like that. Are you a Jew? Yeah, because he goes to the synagogue on the Sabbath, he does so and so, etc. And he reads the Torah, etc. But when you go deep in any school, in any school, especially in Islam, you can't say a layman is Maliki or Shafi or Hanbali just because when he prays, he just leaves his hands like that. This is not the Maliki school. This is only one small, tiny, weeny branch in the Maliki school, which you can discuss about. So it's not the Maliki school, actually. The same thing, when you go to Turkey, and you find in their masajid that they don't say Ameen with loud voice, and when they pray, they put their hands just like this under their nibble, etc. Is this the Hanafi school? That's it? No, Hanafi school is a big school that has a lot of things. So you can't say these guys are Hanafis. Are the Moroccans Malikis? Are the Turkish people, are they Hanafis really? The layman doesn't have any school actually. So just put this in your mind. But here, what does he want to say? Actually, he wants to say the translator didn't translate it perfect. And this is why I always like, when you read a translation, to go back to scholars. This is very important. Look what he says here. He says, in North Africa, or in Maghrib, everybody is Maliki. In those days, not nowadays. Nowadays things change, because everybody starts giving fatwa here and there. But in the ancient days, all scholars were Malikis. You can't find anybody out of the Maliki school. And the laymen follow their scholars, so they're Malikis normally. And the same thing in the Hanafi land. And the same thing in the Shafi'i land. When you used to go to Yemen, to Abyssinia and Somalia and those lands, and you go to Malaysia, Indonesia, you would find everybody Shafi'i, because there's teachers Shafi'i. That's it. They don't know anything else. But he says in Egypt, which is not part of North Africa, but he didn't say North Africa. If he said North Africa, he would say وفي شمال إفريقيا. He said في المغرب, which means the land of Maghrib, which in the ancient days used to mean from what's so called Libya nowadays until the river of Senegal. And actually, you can go to all West Africa. What's the matter with these guys? You won't find anybody except Maliki in those ancient days. And the same thing in Andalusia. But he says, but the people of Egypt, he didn't say the knowledgeable people or scholars of Egypt. No. He said, but the people, وَعِنْدَ أَهْلِ مِصْرٍ, in Egypt, the layman doesn't have any school. Why? Because they have all the madahib there. If you go to Egypt, you'd find the people of Alexandria, Malikis. The people of Sa'id are Malikis. The people of Cairo, they have all schools there. You can find the Hanafi, Shafi'i, Hanbali, and what did I say? Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanbali. All of them are there. So therefore, the layman is not connected with one school. He could go and say and pray in a masjid and say, Maulana, what's the so-and-so? He would answer him. So he's not connected to one school. This is what he wants to say. In the land that you have only one school, you're going to follow that school. In the land that you have a lot of schools, the layman doesn't have any school actually. Because whoever he asks, he takes from him knowledge, and that's it. Did you get the idea? This is the idea with what he wants to say. It's not as exactly as the translator translated, and this is the problem of translations. This is the problem of translations. Okay, now it says here, principle 45. That a fundamental principle, asl, can be subdivided, decrees that its practical application, fara', can also be subdivided. Hence, it's necessary to attach oneself to a fundamental principle to which one can refer in jurisprudence, theology, and Sufism. He who maintains that the Sufi has no school of jurisprudence is wrong, except in the sense that the Sufi chooses from each school what is best as a proof, a goal, a precaution, or something else, which will lead him to a spiritual state. Otherwise, Al-Junayd was a Thawri, Al-Shibli a Maliki, Al-Jurayri a Hanafi, Al-Muhasibi a Shafi'i. These men were leaders and pillars of the path. He who holds that the way of the Sufi with respect to particular applications is based on the hadith is right in the sense that the Sufi will not undertake any action in his way unless it confirms to the text of the hadith. And for so long as it doesn't oppose prudence or piety, this should be done without pointing a finger at the doctors of the law and without being inclined towards special dispensation. As As-Sahrawardi, rahimahullah, mentioned in regard to Sufi meetings. His teaching is to be understood in this context, but God knows best, so understand. Okay, he says now, if we have an origin that has branches, this leads to branches that have other branches. What does that mean? he says that the one that doesn't follow any jurisprudence school, when he is going to face a branch of fiqh, he will get lost, because he would find a lot of opinions. And that's why the layman or the beginner, when he asks about something, he waits for one answer. But when you go telling him, well, Imam Shafi'i said so and so, Imam so and so said so, he said, hey, please just tell me what to do. I can't understand all what you're saying. I just want one thing to practice. That's it. So therefore, he says, you have to follow one thing, or at least have one origin, so that you can gather your knowledge. And this is not only in jurisprudence, even in Aqidah, creed, and Sufism, which is the school of Sufism. So you can't say that the Sufi doesn't have any school. You can't say that. According to him, he says it's not proper to say that the Sufi doesn't have any school. So therefore, any Sufi who studies has to have a particular jurisprudence school and a particular school in creed. He can't be just like that, going without any creed, without any jurisprudence school. And therefore, if this Sufi, or even any student of knowledge, if he doesn't have any specific school, always when he's going to have a branch of jurisprudence which he has to practice, he's going to find lots of opinions where he's going to get confused and he's not going to know what to do. Okay? So therefore, he has to have a specific school so that he can know what to do. And therefore, he says here, unless he's going to just follow the best evidence, or the one that he finds it's better than the other one, or what is more safety, or anything like that, which would make him reach what he wants to reach. This can happen, and this is what many people do. Or actually, they imitate their new shuyukh. So you can find, for example, somebody who's imitating a well-known sheikh nowadays, like people used to imitate Sheikh Al-Albani, for example, or Sheikh Bin Baz, or they imitate Sheikh Al-Qardawi, or imitate, I don't know, there are lots of schools that people imitate them. He says, great Imams of Sufism, they had a school of jurisprudence. So Junayd used to follow, he says, Thawriyan. That doesn't mean he's following Sufyan Thawri, no. He means he used to follow Abu Thawr. Abu Thawr was one of the students of Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah. Abu Thawr was a student of Imam Shafi'i. He was a great Imam in Iraq in the days of Imam Ahmad Hanbal. So Junayd used to follow Abu Thawr. Al-Shibli, Abu Bakr al-Shibli, used to be Maliki. Al-Jariri, he says, used to follow Al-Hanafi. Al-Harith al-Muhasibi used to be a Shafi'i. These are the leaders of the Sufi path. The Sufi path. You see? So therefore, when somebody says that the school of the Sufi in branches of jurisprudence follow the people of Hadith, yes, if he means that the Sufi has to follow Sunnah And as to follow what he reads in the hadith, that's true. Yeah. Therefore, he's not allowed to condemn other scholars or speak about them bad because he followed this and they didn't follow that, because he is a beginner or a layman or whatever. So he has to follow that without following all exceptions and excuses so that he can escape from following the truth. So therefore, this is what Imam As-Sahrawardi said in his book Adab al-Muridin. And the Imam As-Sahrawardi is one of the great ancient Sufis, and he has a book that he speaks about virtues of the Sufis. And Imam As-Sahrawardi rahimahullah is from the descendants of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. He's from the descendants of... Okay, so he's... Yes. So Abu Bakr as-Sahrawardi, what did he say? He says that Sufis agree with the two groups who are the jurists and the people of hadith in their meanings and their ways, as long as that doesn't make them follow their desires and it makes them follow the Prophet ﷺ. So anybody amongst the Sufis who doesn't have any knowledge that they have from the branches of religion and the limits of religion, if they all agree about something, he has to follow what they agreed about. And when they conflict, the Sufis used to take what is better, what is best. Look, now here, he says here, وَمِنْ هُنَا يُفْهَمُ كَلَامُهُ مَعَ نَقْلِ غَيْرِهِ. And from here we understand that, we understand what he wants to say about the people of Sufis. They follow the people of Hadith. Now I'll give you a meaning here. This is very important. What he wants to say here is very important. And Al-Imam Al-Mawaq, Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Yusuf Al-Mawaq, the last scholar in Andalusia, independent Andalusia, Granada, before the Catholics took it and finished the last Islamic state in Andalusia. Muhammad ibn Yusuf Al-Mawaq was a great Imam, and he has a book called Sunan al-Muhtadeen. And he mentions here something very important. Please pay attention to what I'm going to say. He says that our scholars, his scholars, used to say that we are in what is halal and haram, we follow the madhab. We follow the madhab, which means we follow our Maliki school, or Shafi'i or Hanbali or whatever. But North Africa, Maliki school, and Andalusian Maliki. But when it comes to the virtues, we follow the scholars of Hadith. What do you mean by virtues? Virtues means al-adhkar, al-adab, how to worship God more, all these things that you read in the books of jurisprudence, but it doesn't have to do with halal and haram. They don't follow the Maliki school in it. They follow what is better. They follow what is better. And he says that this is what his professors used to say. So the latest Malikis used to follow this. Al-Haffar and Imam what is his name? Great Imams of the latest Andalusis. So he says that all of them used to follow this. And he says this is the school of the huh? Sorry?
Sorry, I didn't mean for that to be live. I was talking to myself.
Yeah. So he says that this is the school, this is the opinion of the latest Sufis and Malikis. I think this is what he wants to refer to. This is what he wants to refer to. So they used to say, إذا جاء الحلال والحرام فنحن مالكية وإذا جاءت الآداب فنحن على مذهب أهل الحديث. When it's halal and haram, we are Malikis. When it comes to the virtuous and things like that, we follow the school of hadith. What is the most? So therefore, this is why many Malikis amongst the Sufis used to say that, yeah, we're Malikis, but we say that we put our hands like this because it's not a big deal. It's not something that if you don't do it, it's going to be haram or halal. No, it's something that follows the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Like the same thing when you say Ameen, it's not a big deal. It's something, if you don't say it, even if you don't even say anything, it's not going to nullify your prayer. And the same thing in a lot of branches of Sharia. So they say we follow in this the sunnah, hadith. When the hadith, we follow the hadith. But when it comes to, and therefore, when you find somebody who claims that he's a Sufi and he doesn't even take care of sunnah, you say, guy, you're not following the great Imams, actually, you're following your desires. Especially when you see somebody who claims that he's a Sufi and he shaves his beard. Why do you shave your beard? Well, he says, you're going to say, well, the Imam so-and-so says, well, didn't the Mawaq say that when it comes to the virtues, we follow the Sunnah and we follow Ahl Hadith? That's what they said. So therefore, what type of Sufism are you following? He's following the Sufism of his desires. Okay? Principle 46. The inspiration and light of person will be according to the inspiration and light of the one he follows. Thus, he who extracts the knowledge of his state from the teachings of the doctors of law has an inspiration and light from them. If he receives his knowledge from the Quran and the Sunnah, his inspiration and light will be perfect. Although he would miss the inspiration and light of emulation, al-iqtida. And for that reason, the religious authorities have taken care to observe it. This to the point where Ibn al-Madini, may Allah rahimahullah, said, Ibn Mahdi followed the teachings of Malik. Malik, the teachings of Sulaiman ibn Yasar. Sulaiman, the teachings of Umar ibn Khattab. Consequently, the way of Malik is the way of Umar ibn Khattab, radiyallahu anhu. Al-Junayd said, rahimahullah, he has not heard hadith, who has not sat in the sessions of jurists, who has not learned proper conduct from the virtuous, will corrupt anyone who followed him or who follows him. God Most High said, say, this is my way. I call to God with sure knowledge, I and whoever follows me. قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ أَنَا وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِي. He, Most High, also said, follow not diverse paths, lest they scatter you from his path. وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا السُّبُلَ فَتَفَرَّقَ بِكُمْ عَنْ سَبِيلِهِ. So understand. I think this is so clear, alhamdulillah. So therefore, actually, you are, you get stuck and illuminated from your teacher. And when you study with somebody or study a book, it puts something on you. It leaves tracks on you. So therefore, when you go to great scholars and you study from them, you get illuminated from them. But when you go directly to the Quranic text and the Sunni text, that would be more proper, if you were capable to do so. This is what he says. If you were capable to do so, not anybody could do that. But you will lose the way, because you just study, but who practiced that? Scholars, imams. So you're going to lose that. So that's why you have to study Quran and Sunnah. And the same thing, you have to study how scholars understood that and how they practiced that. So therefore, many imams didn't agree about studying directly from the Quran and Sunnah without going back to the scholars. Ali ibn al-Madini rahimahullah, who was a professor of Imam al-Bukhari, he was a great imam actually. He was in the era of Imam Ahmad. He's the same stage of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, great imam of hadith. Bukhari says, I never saw myself small except when I used to sit in the lectures of Ali ibn al-Madini. ما استصغرت نفسي قط إلا في مجلس علي ibn al-Madini رحمه الله. So he says that Abd al-Rahman ibn Mahdi used to imitate, who was a great imam in Iraq. He says he used to imitate Imam Malik ibn Anas rahimahullah. And Imam Malik rahimahullah, he used to imitate, or he used to be inspired from his teacher Sulaiman ibn Yasar. Sulaiman ibn Yasar used to be inspired by Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhu. So therefore he says Malik's school is Umar ibn Khattab's school. Actually, Imam Malik rahimahullah is influenced a lot by Umar, but more than that, he was influenced by his son Abdullah ibn Umar Khattab. So therefore, Imam Malik rahimahullah was influenced a lot. Therefore, when you read the Muwatta of Imam Malik, you would find Abdullah ibn Umar going from every chapter. Abdullah ibn Umar. So you could find Abdullah ibn Umar a lot. Al-Junayd rahimahullah used to say, anyone who didn't listen to hadith, didn't study hadith, and he didn't sit with scholars, jurists, and he didn't take virtuous trainings from scholars that train him, he would ruin his followers. And this is the exact problem that we have nowadays. That's why they used to say, never take knowledge, never take Quran, never study Quran from a Quranic person who just takes the book and studies without a teacher. He's going to make a lot of mistakes. So don't take from him, no. Unless he took it from somebody before him, until it reaches to the Prophet's lesson. We studied Quran from our professors. They taught us how to pronounce. They taught us how to read. But when you go to somebody that never sat in a school, never sat with a teacher, and he just reads by himself, he would make a lot of mistakes. So never study Quran from somebody like that. So لا تأخذ العلم لا تأخذ القرآن عن مصحفي, who just reads in Mus'haf, ولا العلم عن صحفي. Never study and take knowledge from somebody who just went reading books and he said, oh yeah, I'm a scholar. Unless he has professors that taught him. And the professors they don't give you only knowledge. They give you knowledge with its jurisprudence, with its virtues. And when I see somebody sitting down and acting lousy or using some words that aren't proper, I know that this guy never got trained by scholars. It's not just taking knowledge. And then many times you find people like that, they don't know how to pronounce names. They don't know, they misunderstand properly what they had to say. So therefore, never leave the lectures of scholars. The lectures of scholars. And therefore, look, he mentioned these two verses. قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِ أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ أَنَا وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِي. This is my path, and I follow it with knowledge, and I know what I'm doing. Me and on my followers as well. And the other verse, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا السُّبُلَ فَتَفَرَّقَ بِكُمْ عَنْ سَبِيلِهِ. Don't follow the several paths, or else it'll make you scatter from the right path. Okay? Principle 47. Okay, let's just leave it here because it's time. We'll stop here, inshallah, until we meet we meet Monday, inshallah, okay? Alhamdulillah, sallallahu alaihi wa sallam, jazakumullah khairan.